All right, we'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of Livingston Parish Council. This is a regular meeting, August 9th, 2018. Mr. Bubba Harris, you have someone to give the invocation?
Yes, I do. Brother Wayne Mack.
Brother Wayne. Everyone please stand.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your mercy, your grace, to Heavenly Father, and the blessings you bestowed upon us. We pray tonight for wisdom for this council to make the decision that's set before them, Lord. Pray for our parish president and the leader of this parish, dear God, that they make decisions pleasing to you and to our parish, dear God. We pray for our nation, our veterans, our military, Lord, our officers, to Heavenly Father, and pray your protection over each one of them. And we give you thanks, and we glorify your name. In Jesus Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Mr. Lovell, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sit down. Are you giddy tonight?
Not you.
Ms. Sandy, call roll, please.
Mr. Lovell.
Here.
Mr. Everett.
Here.
Mr. Mack.
Here.
Mr. Ord.
Here.
Mr. Wascom.
Here.
Mr. Garlinghouse.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Harris. Mr. Talbert.
Here. I'd like to remind everyone, if you have a cell phone, please turn it off and mute it. Also, for public input, we come to an agenda item that you'd like to address. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and we'll give you your time to speak. We don't have any presentations. Item 8, adoption of the minutes from the July 26, 2018 regular meeting of the council. Get a motion to accept. Motion by Mr. Garlinghouse, second by Mr. King. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
That made him mad right away. That's terrible.
Lord have mercy. Nobody said anything about being mad.
Parish President report.
Thank you, Council. Change order number 2 for the Delmas L. Taylor Government Annex Building for the assessor. We need to increase the amount by $114,797. This was due to some soil issues. They had to replace the bad soil under the building pad, and then they had to cut soil cement in the parking lot. Even with this change order increasing it $114,000, we're still $703,000 down below the original contract amount. So I would ask that y'all would allow me to sign off on that. Approve that, please.
I make a motion for that.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Mack. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We'll go ahead and do the addendum.
Yeah, we can.
Since you have it.
I have the engineer here, and he will talk about that for me.
All right, Ms. Sandy, if I say something wrong, correct me here. So I think we're required to keep an ongoing 3-year priority list. All the stuff that's on this paper you've already voted for and different bits and pieces. So basically what we're doing is we're just combining the top list that's already under contract. The middle stuff is the roads we've already scored, and the ones at the end are the roads that y'all been adding over the past few months and we just haven't voted on it yet, or scored yet. So anyway, I'm putting it all under one list, and we're giving it a name, and we can amend it whenever we need to, but we need to at least vote on it once a year for auditing purposes and to keep it current. So anyway, nothing's changed from what y'all have already voted for. We're just putting on this list and giving it a name, and we just ask that you approve the 3-year priority list.
So, Billy, we can still add to this. Anytime we want to at a meeting, if the council wants to add a road, they can add a road.
Yes, and same protocol you've been doing. You get with Miss Sandy, and she'll give me the list, and we add this, and then I'll come back and officially do it on this list as well.
Now, the roads on this list that aren't scored,
Do we have a time frame for when we're gonna start scoring those so that we know that if we don't have a road at a particular time on the list, it's not gonna get scored? I mean, I'm just trying to figure.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you before we start, I kind of had it in my mind from talking with some of you guys, we just, the road program started, they're out there doing construction right now, so as we start maybe getting towards the middle or winding it down, we can go ahead and score them all, but I'll get with you guys, and I just like to ask if you see something on, especially towards the back end, that's missing that you think's on there and it's not, or if you see something that's already on there that we've scored and maybe you had it on there because we had to fix a pothole or we needed to look at some drainage and DPW has already taken that task on and taken care of it, let me know, and that way we can take it off the list and we'll clean it up a little bit and it doesn't just linger there.
Okay. And preceding some of the streets, the two letters B/T.
Between.
All right. Come on, John.
So is that what that is, just showing from one to the other?
Thank you.
I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Mack, second by Mr. Gerlenhouse. Is there any comment from the public on that? Ms. Sandy, you call for the vote?
Mr. Lovell?
Yes.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Gerlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
All right, this time I'm going to move down to agenda 15. This is Miss Jana Colligan. If you're present. She is requesting for a second address located at 13315 Fondren Sibley Road in Walker.
Yes, sir. I'm requesting a second address because I take care of my elderly parents and soon to be a disabled future father-in-law. His house burned down on the 17th. And we were donated a trailer by his sister so we could have a place for us and the kids. We have a dirt pad and all that nice stuff, and then we found out we couldn't move there. Oh, not there. Sorry. And I'm hoping that we can get a second trailer put on there. I talked to Mr. Keenan at the environmental department. He said he's fine with it as long as we get a bigger MODAD. And he's willing to give us the permit if y'all are willing for the second address.
This is in my district. I don't have a problem.
I'll make a motion if you want that to happen.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mr. Talbot. Has you got any comments from the public? Any comments from the council?
I would like it contingent on the second, the bigger MODAD. Sure, that's what it.
Yes, I even got his card, and I even had the papers they gave us when we filled out the permit.
That's good.
Okay.
We make sure that's
So
done.
we could put that in the motion, this thing, because as
Yeah.
long as she gets the MODAD, then we'll get it away.
Yes, sir. He said if you have any problems, call Mr. Keenan, and he said he'll let you know.
Okay.
We're having Mr. Troy Lewis put it in.
Yep.
All right, so it's passed?
Yeah.
Okay, thank y'all.
Let's vote right now.
I'm going Monday morning to get it done.
Get close. Let us vote right now. Miss Sandy, call for the vote.
Okay, thank you. When y'all call.
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Gerlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passed.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. She's got her hands free.
All right, then we'll move back up. All right. Saw Mr. Harrell here earlier. Did he just come for banana pudding?
Yep. He said he came to tell us he loves us.
Yeah, I think he came for banana pudding.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
That wasn't a bad move, was it?
Well, it must not like strawberry cake.
All right, 11, planning commission recommendations. Mr. Geronimo.
Didn't have their stuff done yet, so they just, they only got the thing, so Gary told me that
Thank you, council. I think A and B has been pulled. One's been pulled and one's been deferred. We'll start out with C, the reserves at Live Oak. This is subdivision with improvements. It's in the Gary Talbot's district. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for the reserves at Live Oak.
I went and met, I went and met with, I went to AFA's office today and met with Thomas and Eddie. And we went over the plat, talked about the drainage and where it was going and the impact. And so it looks like the numbers are going to actually improve the drainage in the area. They're slowing it down because a bunch of stuff that used to break to the road is going to go to the retention pond in the back. Well, they got 10-year retention, 100-year weir on that thing. So we're going to slow the water down. And so they might need a little help from the drainage districts on a drainage canal, but I mean, I think other than that, the improvements, the second file might be a different story, but initially the first file is going to work out fine. So I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Mr. Talbot, second by Mr. King. Any comments from the council? I mean, from the public? From the council? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Next on your agenda is a building line waiver for Mr. Jake Abshire. It's also in Mr. Gary Talbot's district. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to deny the waiver of the building line requirement for Mr. Jake Abshire based on it is not meeting the 80-foot at the building line required by the ordinance.
This is a minor resub. The lots are 70-foot wide. They actually meet the square footage requirement that we have of 16,000. I think they're right at half an acre apiece. If this was in a subdivision, they would be more than wide enough. And so it seems to me kind of arbitrary that we've got 80 foot on a minor resub, yet we can do a subdivision with improvements at a narrower distance. So I would like, in this particular situation, since there is no negative impact to drainage, everything in that area comes to the front anyway. It's kind of irrelevant if they're 60-foot wide lots, 70-foot wide lots, or 80-foot wide lots. That I would like to make a motion to grant the waiver. And I understand why planning did what they did. They're really not in the waiver business. They're supposed to tell us if they beat the requirements or not. So I would like to grant the waiver, and I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second.
We got a motion by Mr. Talbot, a second by Mr. Garlinghouse. Any comments from the public on this? Any more comments from the council?
I just got one.
Matt?
I'm not opposed to it. I just wanted to ask the question. Do we meet state requirements on that?
Yeah, I think they got to be. I think I'm working on a deal for Mr. Warren Curtis right now on a servitude, and I think that there's an issue. It was like a 50-foot road frontage on the existing map back in the day, and they're a little short. So I'm actually got to go try to meet with the health department to see about, can we waive that in this particular instance? Because we've got two modads back there, and there used to be a modad on a trailer, and now we're building a house where a modad used to be. And now when they go to get the permit, it doesn't meet. But I think 70 feet is more than adequate on road frontage. But there is a minimum state road frontage on a sewer treatment plant. But 70 feet meets that number, and the square footage meets that number. I think the issue is, I don't know if it's like 55 or 60 or there's some number. And the only reason I know that is because I'm trying to address that for a constituent right now. So. Okay.
Mr. Lovell?
Yes.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Garlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Okay, next on your agenda, subdivision with improvements. This is London Point's preliminary plat. This is also in Mr. Gary Talbot's area, off of Hunstock Road. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for London Point.
This is another subdivision that's actually, it's just north of Hunstock Road. And it's in an area that really has some drainage issues at this point in time, and it's kind of probably going to require, what do you think, Billy, 2 or 3 foot of fill in there? Seems like to get it to the base flood per lot, somewhere in that area. I asked Billy, and I just asked at Fort Neblata that on this particular deal, we look at 100-year stormwater retention and retaining the water through the event so that we don't negatively impact the area, because it's kind of a hole back there, and they had some flooding issues during 16, and there are some drainage issues flash flood that occurred, so we're going to try to improve the drainage there, not make it worse with the new development. And so they're going to try to look at that for us and see where we're at. So, I would like to make the motion, given that situation, that they strive to accomplish those goals of 100-year stormwater retention and retaining the water through the event. So that's.
So is that the grant waiver or?
Well, they're not asking for a waiver. They're just introducing a preliminary site plan on this one.
To approve the.
And all we did is because of the drainage situation, look,
That's fine.
we got infrastructure issues throughout the parish, and if we address them one at a time, those that we can make improvements, we make improvements. That's what we need to strive for.
Okay.
There are some that you can't do it. There's some that you got to do what the ordinance calls for, but there are other times when you have the ability to make the improvements because of it's available, you need to take advantage of it. So that's all I've asked them to do is, in that particular situation, do that, and they thought it would be a good idea.
We got a motion by Mr. Talbot, second by Mr. Garlinghouse. Any comments from the public? Council? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Next on your agenda is a multifamily development. This is in Mr. Jeff Ard's district, Sparrow Nest Townhomes, preliminary site plan. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for Sparrow Nest Townhomes.
I'm good with it. You good? I'll offer a motion to go ahead and accept. Motion by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Mack. Any comments from the public? Council? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Next on your agenda is a commercial development. It's in Mr. Tracy Garlinghouse's district. I'm not going to pronounce the actual name of it, but what it means is First Pentecostal Church in Spanish.
There you go.
So, I mean, I just want
I'm
to,
going to give it a shot.
any of you guys is welcome to
Primera
kind of
Iglesia
address
Baptist
that.
Pentecostal Church.
That's right.
Not bad.
So,
I'm more Pentecostal than I am Baptist. So I get a break on that.
it is
it's
a recommendation.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for this First Pentecostal Church in Spanish with the waiver that they can use limestone for approximately 2 years. At that time, they'll put their hard surface down.
And I have zero problem with that.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Garlinghouse, second by Mr. Watson.
Sam, are they going to pour the apron that touches the parish road and concrete or something, or do the apron?
I think they'll pull the apron tying into the state highway.
Okay, and then
Yes, that's off of 190.
It's on there.
so I saw that yellow mark. So the apron's going to be poured so that
Oh, yeah.
We can't read that in little.
It's on there.
okay. That's all. I mean, I was just curious.
All right.
Had a motion by Mr. Garlinghouse, second by Mr. Watson. Any comment from the public?
The yellow.
More comment from the council. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Okay, if I may, agenda item number 12, building line waiver for Lot 54 in the Riverscape at Clio. I think this is Ms. Tab Lobell's district. Is to reduce the side building lines from 6 to 4. At the time, it was 5 foot. I mean, this is an old subdivision, an old development. And it's just, she had to go 4'7" on the front, or 4 foot on the front, 4'7" on the back. Just 35-foot lots, so she's asking for a waiver.
Yeah, I've been in there a bunch of times, and definitely for it. It's she's even agreed to put some more fire retardant stuff on the side just in case of a fire and such as that. So I think we should. I'd like to make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Lobell, second by Mr. Avery. Any comment from the public? Council? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So you had?
Thank you, Mr. Sam.
All right, item 13, distribution of former Recreation District 5 remaining funds, which was dissolved on April 26, to newly created Recreation District 5 South and Recreation District 7. This is actually me, Averett, and Lobel. We've all kind of been back and forth to this, talking to everybody. We had the assessor's office look at all the money that was turned over to District 5, had him break it out as to where our new lines are drawn, what was collected in District 5 South, what was collected in District 7, give us a percentage of what goes to each one. So that's where the percentage came up, which was 61.5% for 7 and 38.5% for 5 South. He had a dollar value down there, but we've paid some bills and other things, so I know that dollar value is not correct. That's why I just go with the percentage. We also need to add that we're going to give District 5 South the ballpark, the Coyell ballpark, would go to them with their 38.5%, and all movable property stay in each respective district. So any movable property that is currently in Livingston and anything that's currently in Coyell, that's where it stays.
All the equipment and tractors.
Equipment, tractors, all that. So, got a motion by Mr. Averett, second by Mr. Lobel. Any comment from the public on this?
I got a question. I need a little help. I'm slow. I'm kind of confused. So this is, Rec District 5 is the district that used to encompass Livingston and Coyell that they voted down a millage tax back in the spring of last year or fall of the previous year. And then Livingston tried to pass a rec tax and they voted that down in last year sometime. So the council, we dissolved Rec District 5 because they voted the taxes down and people didn't want recreation. So now the councilmen in those two areas have created, they've seen a need, so they've created two different recreation districts, right? Okay, so now we're going to divvy the money up from the old district amongst the people that paid the tax in, so that they, even though the people hadn't voted for a new tax to fund that rec district, we're going to give them the money that they had paid in previously to utilize within that rec district. Is that my understanding?
Yes. Well, what we're doing is we have money that is left over that can only be spent
On
for
recreation.
Recreation.
Okay.
So
Only collected in those districts?
So we had them divided to where it was collected so that it is divvied up to stay where it was collected.
I understand. I perfectly, I agree. I mean, I got no issue. I understand the concept. I think it's such a great idea. I'm going to make the motion. Oh, we've got a motion in a second. That's good already. I just want to be sure I understood that we're going to disperse money to rec districts that were created to replace districts that we voted out because they didn't want to pay a bill.
We've never voted these two districts out.
No, we voted Rec 5 got dissolved, didn't it?
Yeah. Rec 5 got dissolved.
Okay, so Rec 5 got dissolved, and we're taking the money from Rec 5 and dispersing it into two new districts.
We have to disperse it. There's nowhere. Basically, we were asked, Jennifer asked if we would go on to disperse it, and she doesn't have it on the book.
So she can clear her books up.
She clears her books.
And we're going to give the equipment to the places that utilize it instead of the city of Denham and the city of Walker and the city of Livingston and maybe the city of Albany.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's who paid for it. So
I got
it's staying right there.
I just want to be sure I understood the concept. That's all.
Okay.
You got it.
You got it figured out.
It ain't gonna work, but you got it.
Any comment from the public on this? All right, Ms. Sandy, call for the vote.
Mr. Lobel?
Yes.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Garlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes. That was 9-0, wasn't it, to disperse those funds? I just want to be sure I had that down right.
You better keep that figure in your head.
Were any of those funds collected in, I don't know,
Only collected
Really?
in that area, period.
So there's no unclear.
There's absolutely no way any money came from Denham Springs. or
Okay.
anywhere.
I wanted to make that clear.
Well, let me ask you a question. Are the same boundaries of 5 South and 7 exactly the same as the old Rec 5?
No, they are not.
So we're actually dispersing them into districts that are different.
5 South is district.
If it
It's
passes.
different. Mine has not changed at all. Zero change.
So we're gonna disperse it and then.
So 5 South,
go after-
5 South's got to be a vote of the people before the boundary can change?
Yes.
Ain't nothing.
If we find a funding mechanism.
If you find a funding mechanism. So we disperse money to 5 South without a permanent funding mechanism there that might just go, might be evaporated?
It was already all of their money. Of course, they got
Well,
their
now,
portion.
there's some people in 5 South. I mean, are we playing softball and baseball in Rec 7 and Rec 5 South right now?
Not in Rec 7, because Rec 7 doesn't own anything. Town of Livingston owns a ballpark. Rec 7 doesn't
So
own it.
so Town of Livingston's playing ball over there now?
Yeah, they own it. It's theirs.
But Rec 5 South is playing ball.
I got you.
Rec 5 South.
There you go, yeah. Interesting.
All right, let's move on. Item 14.
With baseball bat.
All right, 14, I think I was one I handed all of y'all, the little package right before we come in here. This is Five Oaks Mobile Home Park located on Red Oak Road. I think we have the guys that's wanting to do the mobile home park here. So would state your name and address.
Mike Lester, 215 North Street, Glen Springs.
L. Sterling, 15600 Springfield, Washington.
All right.
We basically just going to read off what we're asking for a waiver on. No mobile home shall be moved into a mobile home park until all construction and related road drainage and utility work is complete. There was 18 existing mobile homes in there, so we're just asking a waiver that we're allowed to rent those 18, and no other mobile homes will be moved in until all the construction is done. Access to each mobile home site shall be approved by 24 feet wide drives located within private servitudes of access having a minimum width of 50 feet. Minimum improvement requirements for private drives within the mobile home park shall be 30 feet roadway with an 8 1/2 inch base and specified by Livingston Parish Council, and a 24-foot wide, 2-inch thick asphalt concrete. So there was limestone existing there, so we're asking for a waiver for it to stay limestone, and that most of its spacing is 23 feet wide, not 24. Where only one drive is to be provided, each mobile home park shall include an adequate circular turnaround at the rear of the property with a minimum inside pavement radius of 35 feet. We're just asking for it to be limestone and not paved. Each trailer or mobile home shall be set on concrete footings of a minimum of 4 inches thick and have a 4-inch thick, 18-foot by 24-foot concrete parking pad to be measured from the back of the curb or edge of surface at the front of the site. So again, we're just asking that it stay limestone. And any mobile home park developed under these standards shall provide a solid wood or metal fence of at least 8 feet high. We're just asking that it can be 6 feet because they have an existing fence that's 6 feet. And that covers all of it.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the council for them?
So that was like
4, 5.
5 waivers.
5 waivers, which
Pretty significant waivers.
three of them all pretty much you're allowing the limestone instead of asphalt and concrete pads.
And it's 23, we asked for the 23 feet because it would be a significant cost to move it over 1 foot since they were already set,
Since they're already
skirted,
set up.
hooked up, everything's already ready to go.
What's planning say on that?
It hasn't been the planning.
Hadn't been planning. Y'all hadn't seen this? I think y'all need to see then tell us what you think.
Is there anyone in public here to speak on this? Anybody from the public? I made calls to everybody.
The only thing I'd like to, just wanted to say a few things.
Go ahead.
Man, is it's to my understanding they purchased it. It was existing. It's not like they're going back and they're constructing a new trailer park. Okay, and they're, from what I understand, these lots within this trailer park, they're not adding new lots. These lots already exist.
We're actually taking some away.
I don't really see where I mean, yes, it's 5, but I don't really see where it's drastic variances. I mean, like, to go from a 8-foot fence to 6, I don't see where that's drastic. Limestone instead of concrete, well, I mean, it's already pre-existing. It's not like it's new construction. And then the one where they said they would need to complete construction, what is that about? I mean, what do you mean complete construction? What construction are you talking about?
We bought it, and then I have made plans to improve, to bring it up to more to construct more ordinances to
Yeah,
get
they're
it closer to the
going
mobile home
to, if you
requirement.
look at the drawing, they're actually going to do a retention pond in the back of the property.
We're going to do lighting around.
See, that's why I was asking about planning, because
Okay.
about the 8-foot fence. We have granted waivers on different things based upon the neighboring properties saying it was okay. Well, without us even knowing what they have to say about that, I'm not okay just granting a waiver without even asking the neighbor. Because it's in there 8-foot fences for a reason.
And it may be 8 foot, so the fence, when the property was built up, so if we're talking
From bare ground?
base ground, it probably is 8 feet.
You would be able to see that though, yeah. I don't know, I mean, I think we need to adjust this mobile home ordinance. I wanted to talk to Shane about it and I completely forgot that we need to look at that these trailer park ordinance, it needs to change.
Okay.
You cannot build a trailer park in Livingston Parish right now because it's prohibitively expensive. And people need places to live. And so I'm not trying to, by any means, say, no, let's don't do this because it's there and you're going to work to make it very nice. I know that, from what y'all are showing us. I'm not saying wait until we change the ordinance to do this because that wouldn't make sense. It may be several months before we get a chance to do that. But Joe, would y'all feel more comfortable? I mean, you wouldn't tell us anything than we're hearing now, though, or would you?
Only problem I think we'd have, basically because it's an existing trailer park, is the height on that fence. It's pretty tough on the height of that fence when you've got neighbors.
Right.
Can you put
We don't know if there's residential on the sides of it or if it's businesses.
Right.
It's all residential.
So if you've got single-family dwellings, those people might not.
Yeah, how close is the nearest house to the fences?
We've been pretty strict on not granting waivers.
I would say on the
height of
left,
fence.
on the left is probably 60 foot, on the right is probably 200.
Yeah, see, I think that's going to be my only sticking point with any of this, as far as I'm concerned, is that
So is it a
fence.
metal post fence? Can you add 2 foot to the top of it?
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
Well, is it possible right now, when I'm asking, can you add 2 foot to the top of that fence?
If that's what
If a
it takes.
fencing company could do it, yes, I guess that's.
Oh, I feel solemnly they can do it. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
And again, the question I have is that from the original ground, or is that?
Well, I don't know, Joe, it's based from just the original,
fence, right?
before you build the pad, or, the property up?
I mean, if you go for the original dirt and you brought 3 feet of dirt in there, then you got a 5-foot tall fence. And
Right.
you're defeating the
So
purpose.
it's got to be from original dirt,
It's got to be.
effectively.
What you have right now,
Right.
whatever your ground level is right now, you need 8 foot.
Yeah, well, that's right, the field dirt, yeah, because you could make it 3 foot if you had to raise, Okay.
By the time you put a mobile
Problem.
Well, that's the only problem I have with it at all. I think y'all are gonna make it nice. It's where people need homes, and so, Jeff, what is your feel? I mean, we can send it to planning, so.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I
We
see
can put an
nothing.
8-foot fence and say, let's go with it.
I mean, I think they're trying to go above and beyond. I had a couple of people that called me about this. I called them back and I told them if they had any concerns to be here tonight.
I think most of the concerns would go away with the 8-foot fence. If you guys can do that, I'd be okay. I'd vote to go ahead and proceed with this.
That's fine.
I'm gonna offer a motion to go ahead. All right, we got a motion from Mr. Harris to accept the waivers with the continuance of the one that's 6 foot. Go ahead and go to 8 foot.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Gardenhouse.
And Jeff, you good with the waivers? You good with the motion as it said?
I'm good with the way it sits, but I will, so everybody don't ask questions, I'm going to abstain from voting from this because this was the trailer park that was originally set up for the deputies. So
Okay, we
I'm
appreciate
going to
that.
abstain from that.
And I was under the impression this is not FEMA trailers either.
It's not FEMA trailers. It is not. This is actual trailers.
Actual
They're
nice
new, nice
Did you get a
trailers.
second yet?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Had a motion from Mr. Harris, second from Mr. Gardenhouse. Any comment from the public on this? Ms. Sandy, call for the vote.
Just want to make sure you're approving the other 4,
Yep.
and you're approving this contingent that they're going to add 2 more feet to the existing 6 foot.
Or whatever it gets to get 8 foot.
Yeah, and whether you gotta take it down or extend it, whatever. Hopefully the cheapest way.
Yeah, like that.
Mr. Lobel?
Yes.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Abstain.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes,
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
do it up right, fellas.
Appreciate you. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we've already taken care of 15. Get down to 16. Adopt a resolution to name an unnamed road off of LA Highway 42 at Watts Road. The new name would be Critter Cove Lane. Mr. Lobel.
They
Would be in
Gotta be over on the east
Springfield.
side.
putting in a one-street subdivision there off of 42, and they need to start getting addresses, and they don't have an official road yet. So that's the name they picked, Critter Cove Lane.
I like it.
And they said there's plenty of critters there.
I must have happy with Harris's over there. They use all the Harris roads and lanes and
I thought you meant because they donate all the critters.
that too.
Donate all the critters.
I will say, y'all got some interesting names that come out over there in your district, man. I mean,
That is
We
going
got
to
some
be a very
interesting
nice
folks in
subdivision.
my.
yeah.
That's what makes it good,
That's
don't it?
right.
Well, that subdivision, what's going to be 3 acre and 5 acre lots?
Yeah, pretty big lots. So I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Lobel, second by Mr. Avery. Any comments from the public? Council? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? 17, addition of roads for consideration to the capital outlay priority road list. Mr. Wascom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had spoken to the mayor of Denham Springs, and just riding around, we've just discovered that there was a road that probably should have been added to the priority road list before some of the last ones that we voted. It's in worse shape than the other ones. So again, since we don't make the decision, I'd like to ask that, and I've spoken to Mr. Billy Taylor. I told him we're going to be voting on this one to try to get it to the list, to just at least be evaluated before they, at the next evaluation. So if you don't mind, I'd like to make a motion that we add North Woodcrest to the, you knew about that.
Actually, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it on
Yeah,
there,
it's on there.
and
Yeah,
so
it is.
I'm hoping y'all approve this tonight, because we've got it on the list.
We could do these both together,
Yeah.
right? So we'll go ahead and let Mr. King introduce his.
And I'd like to put Clinton Allen Road from Arnold Road to Kane Market Road on the priority overlay list for consideration.
We don't just go all the way, because the road ain't even better between the other parts.
Do you want your half?
Yeah.
And we need to extend it the whole way.
So
Clinton
all
Allen
of
from Arnold
Clinton
Road
Allen
all the way
Road.
north, all of Clinton Allen
All
Road.
of Clinton Allen.
Don't leave him out.
So that means we have a motion by Mr. Wascom and a second by Mr. King
We
to
agree on
accept
something.
North Woodcrest and Clinton Allen Road.
Well, these roads, they need to be.
Comment
graded.
from the public. Council? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. 18, adopt a resolution to extend and identify existing servitude road approximately 1,750 feet to be known and named as Kane Mill Road, beginning at the end of the existing road known as
Hey, it says it's in your district. You want it?
Kane Mill Road, located off of Clinton Allen Road in District 2, and authorize approval for addressing.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Talbot, second by Mr. King. Comments from the public? Council? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
I almost didn't let you, you know how they don't let you do nothing.
You thought he was gonna fail 6-3?
19, request for a percentage of the monies left in mosquito abatement fund equivalent to the percentage of population in mosquito abatement district 2 and 3. Mr. Talbot.
Okay. You know, Mark Harrell called me and told me I ought to pull this thing. He was gonna give me some money for testing, but he didn't call me and tell me I had any money for testing. So I was still thinking about pulling it till we approved 13, 9-0. Here we have a situation where a rec district, south of the interstate, failed to pass the tax once, and north of the interstate failed to pass the tax twice. Yet it wasn't a referendum on recreation. They just didn't want to pay a millage. And then the councilman in the area saw the need for recreation, so they created two new recreation districts. One of them outside the boundaries of the original recreation district. And then this council saw fit to disperse the revenue left over in the fund that could only be used for recreation to those two districts equal to the amount paid in.
In the district where it was located.
In the district where it was located. And so, you know, I thought, man, this is great. I've seen this somewhere before. And before it was always a referendum on the service. And this time it's not a referendum on the service. They just didn't want to pay a millage. So I thought, heck, I might have a shot. So we put an item on the agenda to request a percentage of the monies left in the mosquito abatement fund,
If we need it.
equivalent to the percentage of the population in Mosquito Abatement District 3. Now, there's about a bunch of different ways to figure that. You can say that there was 9 council districts paying into the original Mosquito Abatement Fund, so you can divide it by 2/9, which is 23%. Or you could take the census population of 2010, where the parish population was 128,026, and council district 2 and 3 added together was 30,359 people, which is 24% of the population of the parish. Or you could take the revision of 2015, which says the parish has 130,210 people, and council district 2 and 3 have 38,620 people residing in it, which is 30% of the population. And I'm not really greedy. I don't care if you give us 30% of the money, 24% of the money, 23% of the money. One of those percentages is equal to the portion paid in by the people that reside in 2 and 3 currently, for money that can only be used for mosquito abatement. And if it's given to the new recreation, look, I'm having a flashback. If it's given to the new mosquito abatement district, it can only be used for mosquito abatement in that district. So, you know something, in the past, I've made the motion. Scooter seconded. Jess voted with us, and we keep getting beat 6-3. So heck, I'm not even gonna make a motion tonight. I'm gonna ask somebody else, if you think that these things are similar, and that the actions of the council when they did number 13 are similar to what ought to happen, in my opinion, on 19, then I'm just gonna let somebody else make the motion. Because if I make it and Scooter passes it, we just gonna have an election, probably gonna end up 6-3. The only way we're gonna have an election now is if somebody who voted against it previously determines that they're similar. I know it was important that we give this money to these kids so they can play ball, we can cut the grass, we can pay the light bill, you know, those type of things.
Yeah.
You know, and I just felt that it was important that, you know, the other night when we dissolved the parish-wide mosquito abatement district, we had a little young man sitting here that had neuroinvasive West Nile since he was 3 days old. And it just seems to me that we ought to give those children the same consideration that we give the children that can play baseball or play softball. So I'm gonna leave it in y'all's hands. We can either move on, or somebody can make a motion to disperse whatever they think's appropriate. 23%, 24%, 30%.
I have a motion. Item 20, attorney's report. Item 21, committee report. Mr. Mack?
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. A couple of Thursdays ago, we had an ordinance committee meeting. It was a very lengthy meeting. A lot of people from the public showed up, and I felt like we got a lot accomplished. We worked on the inoperable vehicle ordinance, which we are still working on. We're going to have another ordinance committee meeting on the 16th. And we also worked on a new ordinance where we had a unanimous vote to require 2 entrances if a subdivision had, X number of lots. I think we decided that night that we would go, if a subdivision was going in with or without improvements on a parish road, it was 150 lots or more, that we would require 2 entrances / exits. And then if it was a state highway access, then we would require, I think if it was on a state highway, you could have 200. If it was 200 or more, it would require 2 entrance and exits. Now, we also discussed, and what if a subdivision had 300 lots or 400 lots or 500 lots, what would you do? Would you add another entrance? Would you require that? And so some thought it was a good idea, some didn't. So what we did was we put it on the agenda to discuss it, and we were planning to introduce a new ordinance tonight. Before you'll have 2 copies that are basically numbered the same, but they are different. It's item 21AI. The one that's in your binder talks about, requiring more than 2 based off of, if you're over 300 lots, 400 lots, that type of stuff. The other one specifically just talks about if it's over 150 on a parish road, you got to have 2, at least 2, and if it's 200 on a state highway, you have to have 2. You have to have at least 2. Now, I'm open-minded. It's what we feel is best when we're thinking and planning and doing what's right to develop Livingston Parish in the future. Okay? I know that the gentlemen that represent the west side of the parish have way more experience in subdivision developments and being involved with that and communicating and all that type of stuff than I have, So I'm asking for y'all's advice over there, whatever y'all feel is best. If y'all want to take this back to the ordinance committee meeting and discuss it more, that's fine with me. If y'all want to move forward, change the numbers, and just say, like if it's 200 or more, or parish or state, required 2 entrances. I personally feel like that's what's best. I think that in the ordinance committee meeting, Gary mentioned, a national fire code that said that was what was recommended to keep the residents in that subdivision safe. So that being said, we just wanted to lay it out there and just start the discussion and see how the developers and the public and the council feels and see how we want to proceed with this. So I've said enough.
This is what y'all came up with first.
We came out with the 150 and the 200, and then with kind of further discussion, I don't know. There are some. Even if we go to 200 on all roads, there are some circumstances that's going to be problems. But I think we can move forward. I
agree.
We move forward at 200, being if it's 200 or more, require 2 entrances. At the same time, there are some situations that are going to cause problems for us. And I would strongly recommend, Eddie or Billy or anybody can talk to us tonight about it, or we could actually, set up a meeting at some point in time in the future to address it. I think, though, that you need to hear some of the concerns that, if you have 2 entrances, one on a parish, one on a state, the state might not give you a permit, period, if you got access to a parish road. And so there are going to be some traps in this thing. And so we need to be careful that we don't create a situation where we lock ourselves down and maybe kill for future development. Tracy and I talked about, for example, Easterly Lakes. There's a road that runs beside it that you could tie into, or Paradise Lakes that the road runs beside it, and create 2 entrances. You know what I'm talking about? However, those roads are in such repair that probably 95% of the people would use the main entrance. So when you put the Rubiks together and did the analysis, you would find out that you've got 2 entrances, so you need no improvement on the state highway or the parish road for intersection, turn lane type work. Yet in practicality, 190 homes might be leaving 1 entrance with no improvement, where if you only had 1 entrance, you would have got a deceleration lane and a turn lane, and so you have 200 homes leaving 1 entrance with improvement. So there are traps that we need to be aware of in this situation, and I think, Eddie, you want to come talk about some of the alternatives that you came up with? I don't want to get into big, long, drawn-out
No, I
discussion.
don't either, but I want to say something too. Right now, this parish is in the standard is, there is no standard as far as the number. You could theoretically build a neighborhood with 800 homes and have 1 entrance. And we cannot stay there. We cannot stay there. Doing nothing is not an option. So, I
agree.
It's just not. I don't know how it's gotten this far without being addressed. There's just so many things you've got to address that you just sometimes things slip through. We need to address this. What the number is, I understand Mr. Talbert's, what he's saying is when you change this, then you got something else that's in play, and there's always scenarios you don't think of. But I would like to have some framework to move forward, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are you guys just introducing the ordinance?
I think we're going to introduce it tonight. We're going to introduce it tonight at 200, Eddie, and that way that, there'll be a public hearing in 2 weeks. I guess you want to do it in 2 weeks? You want to do it in 4 weeks, Shane? What do you want to do?
Well, it's up to y'all. I was thinking our normal protocol is the next council meeting.
Yeah,
But we don't have to.
But I'm just saying,
You guys can formulate what you would want us to hear, and then we could.
One thing I'd like you guys to think about in here was.
State your name, who you with.
Eddie Idell with Alvin Fairburn is a lot of times, DOT has an access management policy that they have been hammering developers with. So I'm not disagreeing at all that more entrances are a better idea for sure. Redundancy is something that engineers, try to incorporate into any project, and having more than 1 entrance is a good idea. But there's going to, like Gary was saying, there's situations where maybe you have 1,000 foot of frontage on a state highway with 350 lots and you want to put 2 entrances. DOTD may not allow that. So I just want you guys to consider that, and maybe let's add a little more into whatever you guys end up voting on that would allow for, hey, we want 2 entrances if you have more than 200 lots, unless DOTD won't allow it and they require the developer to do something else. Because when it does front on a state highway, you have a DOTD driveway permit that you have to secure, and they do a pretty decent job of making the developers put in the improvements that are necessary. So I just, like Gary was saying, I just want you guys to consider that if you passed it just real clean and simple, there's a high probability you're going to be getting a lot of waiver requests that was going to be coming through because we don't have enough flexibility in it.
You had made the comment earlier that the parish didn't allow subdivisions to cut through other subdivisions.
That's another thing.
And
Your
tie that
current
in.
ordinance discourages interconnectivity. We need to change that. Instead of not encouraging subdivisions to connect through existing, we need to require that a new subdivision that comes before you has built-in connectivity to the adjacent properties is when it comes before you in the preliminary.
So is that something we should put in ordinance form?
I think it's something you certainly need to discuss and consider.
Have you ever seen any drafts like that we could use to create? Can you come up with something like that and help us incorporate that?
The more we know, the better off we all are.
Yeah, if we're trying to look at safety, part of it's safety, part of it's traffic. There's a lot of different reasons, but, we've got an ordinance on subdivision that discourages it, and so it's kind of hypocritical to say we're going to make you have 2 inches over a certain number and then discourage you utilizing existing infrastructure, to make your subdivision safer or, traffic flow better. So that was the reason for asking Eddie and them to come tonight, so that more than just the number of entrances versus the number of lots is look at other ways that we can incorporate to make everything flow better and be safe.
I think that's progressive moving for this parish.
Well, I've asked for the connectivity on a few that happened in my district, and the developer said, well, if you want us to put that and leave room, we will. And I said, okay, I want it, and they did. So
More times than not, Scooter, we come, when we get into the preliminary plat phase, we may have connection to a subdivision or two and a existing parish road that's not really a subdivision street. And we get hammered, you guys get hammered by the residents in those subdivisions, even though that subdivision, old subdivision, was originally developed with a planned connection, because that street right away dead-ended into that adjacent undeveloped property. They harass you guys to death about, we don't want that traffic in our subdivision, so we never make the connection. And you end up with 279 lots with 1 entrance, when we had an option, when we had the ability to make 3 entrances.
Yeah.
So
Personally, I think we need to just hold off on this tonight. Let's look at this a little deeper.
And I'm not trying to delay, that's not why I came up here, guys. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just saying that I would like, and I apologize for not coming to y'all's ordinance committee meetings. I'm gonna do a better job of coming to those, because then I would have had an opportunity to talk to you guys before tonight. But I would like to just have some input and make some recommendations before y'all do vote on it.
And I want to be clear too, anything we do is not going to affect any development working now. Anybody that's working now, we're not trying to change the rules on someone who's in midstream. You're just not, I won't do that. I don't ask to do that. That's not fair. We're just trying to have a systematic approach for the future, because, we have to do something we have to start making more sense with what we're allowing to go through at some point. And no limit is not an option.
yeah, we got to start.
So, yeah, we have to start.
Have to start.
Now, I would like to see it go through 199 tonight, but we can go 2 meetings in between.
So you got one set up for the 16th. Is there going to be time for Eddie and them to come talk to us that night, or do you think you got that full? Do we need to set another one up? I mean, I'm just trying to, you the chairman, you figure out what you want to do on that meeting.
I appreciate you.
Like I said, and I think you guys could always add some things to the ordinance and vote on it. Would that be allowed, Sandy?
Yeah, we could
make some changes.
We could introduce the 199 we could introduce the 200 tonight, and then set the date 4 weeks from now, and then have time to have maybe 1 or 2 ordinance committee meetings to adapt it. Y'all good with?
Well, we could always.
Y'all good with introducing? Y'all good with introducing it at 200 tonight?
Yeah.
And then set 4 weeks from now. Set the deal. Is it going to be 4 weeks from now? 5 weeks, so we can have an extra week. So 5 weeks from now, the next 2 meetings from now, have a hearing on it. The vote, and by that time we'll have had a couple meetings maybe and talked about it.
Yeah, we may just add a paragraph or 2 to add for some flexibility. And
you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
I think that's exactly what we should do.
So we got a motion from Mr. Talbot and a second from Mr. Mack.
Oh, all right.
Thank you, Eddie.
Oh, wait, we need to clarify that motion. I'm sorry.
I think Sandy probably
Now,
got
do
it.
we want to go, do we want to change the wording to just say 200, doesn't matter if it's parish or state?
I think we're going to eliminate that first section that said parish, roads or streets, and just add it, make the second section that said 200 state and parish roads and streets, and then that would be it. Just kill that first section, and then add parish, roads, and streets to the second section, and I think that's the simplest way to do it, Sandy?
Yep.
Okay.
You got that?
Yeah.
All right, so we got a motion by Mr. Talbot, a second by Mr. Mack. Any comment from the public on this? You need to read this or anything? Read this?
September 13th. Okay. This is going to be proposed ordinance 18-22. This is an ordinance to amend Article 4, Chapter 13 of the Code of Ordinances of Livingston Parish, Planning and Development, adding section 13-55.1, provisions for subdivision street entrances. The public hearing will be on September 13th at 6 p.m.
Ms. Sandy, call for the vote.
Mr. Lidwell.
Yes.
Mr. Averett.
Yes.
Mr. Mack.
Yeah.
Mr. Ord.
Yes.
Mr. Wascom.
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Talbot.
Yes.
And being that we're still talking about committee meetings and stuff, it looks like we're gonna have an ordinance committee meeting on the 16th at 6 o'clock. Everybody's invited. We're gonna talk about the abandoned car ordinance more. We want to try to wrap that up, and we're gonna try to limit that to an hour and a half.
That's all you talking about?
And, yeah,
For an hour and a half?
yeah, we made it through one little bitty section in about two
That's
hours
already
the other
written.
night.
You don't need to talk
And,
about
and I was looking at my calendar, it looks like the 6th of September would be the ordinance committee meeting to discuss the subdivision changes for entrance and exits. Does everybody agree? Am I reading this correctly? Because y'all said that the next council, well, 4 weeks from now, well, no, 5 weeks from now, will be the 13th, so it'd be the 6th.
Yes.
We could do that?
Yes.
6 o'clock, both ordinance meetings. And,
What day?
does everybody have time
You
to,
can make,
What day?
is that a good day? Thursday the 6th?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's,
I'm not fishing.
you ain't
If I'm
fishing.
not fishing. The fish don't bite on Thursday.
Everybody else has been fishing. Finance Committee, Mr. Garlinghouse.
Really nothing to report except Ms. Jennifer had let us know that the numbers were up, or above projections. So even if you eliminate the boost we had from the sales from the new cars, everything after the flood, if you eliminate the flood, then our projected finance is actually better than they projected before the flood for this time. So that's actually excellent news.
Nice.
That's
We're
it.
gonna keep going too.
Yep.
Motion to adjourn from Mr. Watson.
Second.
Second from Mr. Garlinghouse. All in favor? All opposed? Meeting adjourned.